Thank you, Andre and Noel. And ladies, Deb and Jessica, great stories and indicative of the widespread benefit that Social Security brings to Maine people and to people across this country. Look, it's an honor to be with you, with AARP today, to celebrate the 90th anniversary of the Social Security Act, which, as you know, is landmark legislation that was made possible by a woman who had very strong ties to the state of Maine. You know, Frances Perkins wasn't sure that President Roosevelt should appoint her as Secretary of Labor originally. She was the former Industrial Commissioner of New York State and had witnessed the tragic deaths of women and girls in the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. Horrible, horrible tragedy. She saw that with her own eyes, as you know. And she warned her friend, Franklin Roosevelt, that if she took the job, there were things that she'd want to do for working people nationwide. FDR seemed a bit startled as she described the need to create unemployment insurance and health insurance and old age insurance, as they called it. But the specter of the Great Depression, the desperate mothers and fathers evicted from their homes, weeping on sidewalks with hungry children holding their hands, all of that painted such a terrible picture of people who did not have a safety net to catch them if they fell on hard times. So FDR asked Frances Perkins, "Well, do you think you can do it?" And she said she didn't know, but she wanted to try, and the beginning of the long road to Social Security thus began. The Social Security Act was based on a simple premise. Workers who paid into the program would receive their wages back in the form of retirement benefits, defined benefits. Congress has amended the Social Security Act time and again to honor that promise, including the bipartisan Social Security Fairness Act, most recently. For years, I've been proud to stand by your side in calling for Congress to repeal the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset provision. Those laws that prevented public service employees, like many in this building, from receiving their full Social Security benefits, those laws were wrong, and Congress has decided to make things right. For decades, bipartisan members of Maine's congressional delegation have pushed strongly to get this legislation across the finish line, to repeal those measures. And finally, on July 5th of this year, President Biden signed it into law, restoring full benefits to about 25,000 public service workers in the state of Maine and their survivors. That includes Senator Angus King and Senator Susan Collins, who were vital members of the support team behind that bill, the Social Security Fairness Act. One retired state employee named Penny estimated that she and her husband, a firefighter, were losing about $1,200 a month in earned Social Security benefits before the Social Security Fairness Act passed. That wasn't fair, and I'm glad that situation has been fixed. Thank you to Senator King, Senator Collins, the Maine delegation, for getting it done. Social Security is not some socialist program. It's not welfare. It's not charity. It is an earned benefit, vital to so many families in Maine. And there are many other people who are like Penny, who rely on Social Security for a good part of their financial stability. Maine, as you know, is the oldest and most rural state in the nation. As was said before, nearly 370,000 people in our state collect some kind of Social Security benefits. That includes older people, people with disabilities, and families who are navigating the loss of a loved one, as I did when my husband passed away nearly 11 years ago. Many of these people are in rural communities. More than 40% of households, more than 40% of all households in Aroostook, Washington, and Piscataquis counties, and more than a third of households in Androscoggin County have someone in the household receiving Social Security benefits. Think about that. Vital to paying the bills of those households. The financial stability of many people in Maine depends on Social Security, but the current administration in Washington, D.C. has created deep uncertainty about its future. For months, Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency so-called, or Dodge, done, was given free rein over sensitive government agencies, including Social Security. They threatened to slash Social Security staff by the thousands. They threatened to reduce services available over the phone. They threatened to close field offices that serve our rural areas. Adding to that chaos and that uncertainty, there have been 5 different people who headed up the Social Security Administration just in the last 9.5 months. 5 different heads of Social Security, including some people who recklessly rolled out and then rolled back the administrative changes that left everybody confused and waiting for help. You remember when Mr. Dudek threatened to undo Maine's enumeration at birth program and our program that allowed the filing of death certificates by funeral homes? Common sense, anti-fraud measures. And then he claimed it was a mistake, and then he claimed other things. Who knows? But if you can mess with Social Security in such a frivolous, nonsensical manner, with those vital parts of the program, what else did he want to mess with? What else do those other administrators and the current administrator, what else do they want to do for whatever purpose? Maine people who might get very frustrated from waiting for answers on the phone might choose to drive for hours to a Social Security office. Remember when they threatened to close the Presque Isle office? They might want to choose to drive to an office in person, driving hours, only to wind up waiting in line for hours there in person anyway. One claims representative recently said that the wait time in her office in Auburn has gone from 16 minutes to an hour and a half. Imagine driving some hours to get to a Social Security office and then having to wait for an hour and a half to get an answer to what might be a simple problem, simple question. I say that older people should not be afraid of losing their Social Security benefits, and they should not be in the dark about changes. They also shouldn't have to worry about their Medicare benefits. But here's the deal. That reconciliation bill recently passed by Congress, some members of Congress, and signed into law by President Trump, creates a huge long-term deficit in the federal budget that may well, by prior law, require cuts across the board in the federal budget, including Medicare, unless Congress acts to prevent that. It's a completely unnecessary scare that people relying on Medicare should not have to face. Maine people have earned these benefits, and the federal government should stand by its commitment to those benefits and to those programs and to those people in Maine and across the country. On October 23rd, 1962, Frances Perkins, then retired, first woman member of the United States Cabinet, any cabinet. She then reflected on the roots of the Social Security Act at the administration's headquarters in Baltimore. One thing I know, she said, Social Security, quote, is so firmly embedded in the American psychology today that no politician, no political party, no political group could possibly destroy this act and still maintain our democratic system. It is safe forever and for the everlasting benefit of the people of the United States, end quote. Those are Frances Perkins' words many years ago. Let's hope they stand true. Let's commit to keeping her words, to keeping her promise, and keeping FDR's promise and the Congress's promise to the people of the United States. And so today, I am proud to sign a proclamation commemorating the 90th anniversary of the Social Security Act in our country. I won't read it to you, but I just basically did. But as we reflect on this important anniversary, I urge the administration in Washington to restore stability and reliability, dependability to the Social Security Administration, and to recommit to the promise of the Social Security Act for the everlasting benefit of all Americans. Thank you. Now,